You're listening to the Hire Calling Podcast, your source for all things hiring, staffing, and recruiting. I'm Pete Newsome, and on today's episode, I'm going to cover a foundational yet often overlooked aspect of the hiring process, and that is job descriptions. Specifically, how to write a job description that will attract the best candidates. Now, most hiring managers treat job descriptions as a formality, a painful exercise that they don't want to spend time on. I get it. But if you want to attract the best talent, fill your positions fast, and build great teams, your job description has to do a lot more than simply describe the role. It needs to sell it. And that's what I'm going to break down today. So we'll talk about what a great job description looks like, mistakes to avoid, and then I'll give you some actionable tips to help increase your results immediately. How great is that? And even a new AI tool that you can use. So let's kick off things with what is the first and maybe the most important part of this, which is that job descriptions matter a lot more than nearly everyone thinks. It's not just about checking boxes. It's about putting a message together that candidates will find compelling and interesting and want to apply to. It's a marketing tool. It serves as a reflection of your company's culture and values. And the truth is, most job seekers are scrolling through dozens, if not hundreds of listings at any given time. They're going to be picky. And if your job description doesn't stand out, it's probably going to be passed over. Look, that ad is your first opportunity to make a personal connection, so you just can't afford to blow it. So let's explore how to make it count. There's 7 essential elements that go into a job description. And if you get these right, you're going to have great results. The first one, no surprise, is the job title. Use clear industry standard titles. You want to avoid internal jargon that might confuse job seekers. For example, use senior software engineer, not code wizard level 3. This isn't a time to be cute. This is a time to stay in the center lane. So do that. The next section is a summary or position overview. And here's where you want to provide a concise introduction to the role, its purpose, and how it will fit within your company. Highlight unique aspects of the position, such as innovative projects, or if they get to work in a collaborative team environment. Those things count. The next is position duties and responsibilities. Here's where you want to list the position's main tasks with strong action verbs like designs, manages, or analyzes. Be specific when painting a clear picture of the day-to-day activities associated with the position. Next is the required qualifications and skills. Here's where you want to detail the necessary education, experience, and certifications for the role. Differentiate between must-haves and nice-to-haves. That'll really help broaden your candidate pool. Number 5, work environment and location. Specify if the role is hybrid, on-site, or remote. Note any physical demands or travel requirements. Candidates really want to see clarity here about the specific work environment. Now more than ever, we know what the world is like post-COVID with so many candidates wanting to work remotely or at least hybrid. So it's a great opportunity to sell them on that if those are things you offer, or if you don't, this is where it's important to rule out candidates who won't be a good fit by letting them know it's in the office every day if that's the case. So just clarity is key. The next is the salary range and benefits, where transparency is what matters most. You want to include all the relevant compensation details and then highlight your perks like insurance, 401k matches, paid time off, especially if these are things that are differentiators for you and are strengths. But most importantly, transparency in this area will absolutely increase your application rates. And the last thing you want to include is information about your company. Share your company's mission, your values, your culture. More details, the better. Providing these insights about your environment will help candidates self-select and determine whether they're a good fit. And that's what you want. You want candidates to know as much going in. And so if they're not going to be a good fit, if it's not a right position for them, then you want them to make that choice before they ever get to you. That's awesome. That's a win. So it's not about having as many candidates apply as possible. It's having the right candidates apply. And the more clarity and detail you share on the front end, the less your turnover will be over time. Because even though your interview process may be great, candidates can and will slip through the cracks. So in everything I just covered, it's all about details, it's all about clarity, and it's all about transparency. So if you follow those steps, you'll be in great shape. The next thing I want to talk about are some easy mistakes to avoid, but unfortunately they happen way too often. The first is using overly formal language. Avoid corporate jargon and buzzwords that can make your job description feel impersonal, and they will. So try to be warm as much as you can. Having a laundry list of requirements is the next thing you want to avoid. Don't be excessive with that. A couple of reasons. One, nobody was going to read a book. So if you've written it that way, candidates will glaze right over it. And then if you have too many requirements and you're really describing what is a unicorn or a unique candidate that's so unique they probably don't exist in the real world, then you're going to miss out on otherwise really strong candidates who you would like to see. So don't list excessive requirements. The next is a mistake where I see where job descriptions lack any kind of personality. You want to show that culture like we talked about and your values as much as you can. So don't be dismissive of that. I guess that's really the message there. You want to provide that warmth that I mentioned earlier, and too often job descriptions are just cold. And candidates are very emotional these days, more so than ever before in my professional life, and probably anyone's listening. So play on that, right? Use it to your advantage. Don't be too cold in your job descriptions. So the truth is most of them read like legal documents, but the great ones will read like an invitation. So let that be your goal when writing yours. So here's a simple tip that you can consider that will potentially transform your job ads. Write to your ideal candidate. Visualize that person you want to hire. What are they motivated by? What problems are they excited to solve? What would make this job a great next step for them in their career? Think of all those things and then write directly to that person that's in your mind. Use a conversational tone and make the descriptions in bullet points, right? Think headlines, clear headings. Don't make anyone struggle to understand what it is you're trying to say. So usually the fewer words, the better when it comes to being descriptive. So thorough, but not overkill. As I always say, and I've probably already said in this podcast already, nobody wants to read a book. So don't ask them to, because they won't do it anyway. Don't just think about your own internal words and phrases that you're used to using. You really have to put yourself in the shoes of prospective applicants and then think, what are they going to use in their search terms? Not just how you talk about the job internally. So always pause before you hit send on that job posting to consider whether you're using acronyms that aren't going to resonate, or words and phrases that really aren't commonly used outside of your organization. So with all that said, 7 elements that you should definitely include in your job description, a few things to avoid. If you want help with where to start, there's 2 things that I want to share. One is the job description that we already have on fourcornerresources.com. We have over 500 job titles with samples for each. I'll put the link in the show notes. And then the second thing is a new AI tool we just created 2 weeks ago. It's a GPT that we created on OpenAI through ChatGPT, where it'll walk you through a series of questions and you provide answers, and then it will build a job description for whatever title you want, incorporating all of the elements that we've described here and the best practices for creating a winning job description. So I'll put that link in the show notes as well. So no excuses not to have a great job description going forward. So look, the big takeaway from this is that it's not just about filling space on a job board or checking boxes when you create this job description. It's about making a connection to the right people that will attract the most qualified candidates, making your company look great, and making your job look really interesting to anyone who is considering applying to it. And and being really clear about what the expectations are and what the role will be like for whoever you end up hiring, and it will greatly increase your chance of success. So thank you for listening. I love feedback. Email us at hirecalling@fourcornerresources.com. My team and I will monitor any requests. If you want to hear about a specific topic, go ahead and ask there. Share your feedback. I'd love if you rated this 5-star if you've gotten this far. And thank you for listening, and have a great rest of your day, and happy hunting while you're out there in the recruiting world. Thanks for listening. Talk soon.